Do you ever go to the supermarket for milk and a few essentials and come out inexplicably £30 worse off? The struggle against food inflation is very real. Here are some clever ways that you can save money on your food shop starting this week. First up, eliminate black holes in your kitchen. No, this isn't something that requires the help of Professor Brian Cox. By black holes, I mean corners of your kitchen where food goes to die, rot, and ultimately be wasted. And that waste is money gone from your bank account. Savings start before you even get to the supermarket. You need to make sure that your kitchen is organized. Ensure that stuff isn't getting lost at the back of cabinets in your kitchen by organizing things into categories, so you're very, very clear on where all of your foodstuffs are. That leads us on to the next tip, which is to shop your kitchen first. And it will be much easier to shop your kitchen first once it is organized. Good meal planning that actually saves you money starts with using up what you already have. If you do it effectively, then your kitchen is going to feel less cluttered, you're going to throw away less food, and that's going to be better for your bank balance. So ask yourself, what is about to go off? What food that you've already got in could you make do with this week? We like to have a weekly meal, which is just like a kind of mishmash of what is left over in the fridge, like kind of a fridge tapas situation. This might be things like cold meats and eggs and just whatever vegetables are left over. Just to add, I'm very liberal with things like use by and sell by dates. Not with stuff like chicken, but with things like eggs and fruit and veg, potatoes, pasta sauces, herbs and spices. You know, if we're just talking like a short period of time, I'm not necessarily going to rush to throw that out. Even if fruit has started to go soft, as long as it's not moldy, you can still make use of it by putting it into smoothies, or if you mix up some pancake batter, then you could add your softened fruit into that and make pancakes with fruit. While you're doing this, make a note of things that are running low in your kitchen. And this way you can make a note of that on your shopping list and just keep an eye out for offers. It's much better to buy things that you're going to need soon when it's in offer than to buy them when you're desperate for them when there's no money off offer to be found. My next tip is to meal plan, which you've heard before, but it's to meal plan effectively. It's estimated that 4.5 million tons of food is wasted from our homes every single year. And honestly, I don't think all of that food comes from homes that never ever meal plan. But it could be that in some cases that food waste has come from some homes where people aren't meal planning effectively, or they've struggled to stick with it. We all have that moment in the evening where you think, I really don't fancy what I have in the fridge for dinner. It's happened to all of us, right? It's the same thing with budgeting. If you put a lot of effort into setting a budget and committing to that and then overspend anyway, something has gone wrong in the process. If you've been meal planning but you still throw food away, you need to revisit your meal planning process. Your meal plan should mean that you use up every single bit of food that you buy. A lot of food waste comes from cooking too much, so you end up with leftovers that you either don't eat or you just throw away. What you want to do is make a plan for how every bit of food is going to be used, including leftovers from meals that you've cooked. Once you've written a meal plan, stay committed to it. It might be easier to stick with your plan if you ensure that you're allowing yourself a treat meal somewhere in there that you can look forward to. So that might be like one takeaway a month, or a nice fake away recipe that you cook at the weekend. We've got a couple of curry recipes that we love. Have something in there that you're really looking forward to, so it makes like your kind of bog standard midweek meals seem less boring. You've got something at the end of the week that you can look forward to, and you're going to stick with that meal plan because you're looking to that treat meal at the end of the week. And that way wasting food doesn't become a habit. Set a food budget. With inflation eating away at our food shop budget, get it? It's important to set some semblance of a food budget so that you stay in control of your spending when it comes to your weekly grocery shop. When you've signed up to spend less, you'll put in more practical effort to keep costs down. A really good place to start is looking at how much you're spending right now. Most banking apps have an option where you can actually look at the categories of your spending, and your groceries should be under there. Now, it's not always 100% accurate, but it might give you a good idea of how much you're spending in supermarkets every month. And if not, then just go through your recent bank statement line by line, looking at how much you're spending at supermarkets on food. And once you've looked at that number, think about what a reasonable target might be. Could you aim to maybe cut 20% off of that total? Maybe people could share in the comments below how much you're spending a week on food, and that can give us all an idea of like what different size families are spending, because obviously there's no one size fits all grocery budget. It very much depends on how large your family is, what age your kids are, because a baby is going to be eating a lot less very different things to a 16-year-old boy. Next, avoid convenience food wherever you can. Look, time is precious, and that's why everyone loves a shortcut. But when you buy food that has been pre-cut, chopped, grated, skin removed, taken off the bone, the supermarket will charge you extra for the fact that it has done that prep work for you. In some cases, those shortcuts will be really, really important to you, and it's down to the individual to prioritize. But just take a look at what pre-prepared food you're buying and just see if there are any swaps, any sort of compromises that you can make that could save you a little bit of money. The difference in price can be really quite huge. Go for cheap, easy wins. I think that we have so much food inspiration right at our fingertips, totally free these days, that we can assume that every meal has to be really creative and interesting. But actually, it's really nice to have just a simple soup and bread for dinner, or a jacket potato. We love having breakfast for dinner, so pancakes, scrambled eggs on toast, or bacon, eggs and toast. Embrace simple suppers. My next tip is to look beyond the packaging and the brand name. I think it is legit hilarious how Aldi has been able to completely rip off like the branding and style of certain products. Like, they don't steal the name, but they normally do a very similar name when they do their copycat products. Like, it's so obvious sometimes you kind of have to laugh. But what can we as a shopper learn from that? What can we take away from that? And it's that branding matters to the consumer. That's why Aldi is doing the copycat, because it knows that people are drawn to those particular colours because they associate them with a higher end product than what it is that they're actually selling in the packaging. A huge part of our shopping decisions is about perceived quality. We recognise the brand name, it's really well known, and we recognise the branding on the shelf, so we buy it because we think that's the best one. We don't even maybe look or consider the other options. And sometimes, undoubtedly, the quality of the product is better, but sometimes you would not know the difference if you did a blind taste test. So look beyond the name and the packaging and think about products where you could shift down a brand in order to save you money. Buy in bulk so that you can cook once and eat twice. Look at the price per gram or the price per mil of everything that you buy. You'll often find that the larger version is cheaper by the gram. So when I cook a lasagna, I'll often cook it for 8. So we can have the same meal twice in a week, but it works out cheaper than if I'd cooked 2 different meals. Buy cheaper cuts and in-season veg. Chicken thighs and drumsticks are cheaper than chicken breast, and veg that's in season tends to be cheaper than veg that you're buying out of season. Take a look around when you're shopping and think about quick wins that you can achieve just by swapping one product for another. One example, say you want to eat chicken this week, it's gonna work out way cheaper if you can buy a whole chicken and make use of that entire bird than if you buy, say, portions of chicken breast. For us, from one £5 chicken, I can squeeze out a roast dinner for us. I can get leftovers from it the next day. I can probably squeeze a sandwich or 2 out of it as well. And then I can also then boil up the carcass to make chicken soup. Bulk out your meals with cheaper produce. You can save money on meat by making it go further. Bulk it out with things like lentils, beans, and grated carrot. When you do this, you can generate leftovers that can feed you for lunch or dinner on another day of the week. Make sure you formulated it into your meal plan. Eat before you shop. It is a scientific fact that when you shop, when you're hungry, your eyes expand to be larger than your stomach. Maybe. In all seriousness, you will be more likely to impulse purchase when you shop when hungry. Don't shop with your kids. When I take my kids with me to the supermarket, as we walk around the shop, they are constantly asking for little extras. I would say that I end up spending 10 to 20% more on a supermarket shop if I have brought my kids with me. Now, yeah, you can walk around and say, oh, I'll just ignore them. But, you know, sometimes for a quiet life, it's easier to just give in. And for your bank balance, it may be easier if you can to leave them at home or shop while they're at school or nursery. Freeze food before it goes out of date. You can freeze veggies, fruit, cheese. You need to grate it before you freeze it because otherwise it just crumbles away. But there are so many things that you can store in your freezer before they go out of date. Now, freezing can change the texture of things like vegetables and fruit. However, if you use them in things like a smoothie or in a soup with your vegetables, then you're not really gonna notice the difference. On a similar note, use everything. Don't bin stalks from cauliflower and broccoli. You can use them to make things like stocks and soups. I like to use stale bread to make breadcrumbs when I'm making things like chicken nuggets or my own homemade fish fingers. And with supermarket herbs, you can try actually replanting them at home. There's so many guides on the internet setting out how you can do this so that you can grow your own at home. So next time you need that herb, you've got a supply at home. You don't have to shop at Aldi. Budget food shopping does not have to involve shopping at Aldi or Lidl. We actually shop at several different supermarkets, and that's because we've kind of found a bit of a balance for us between finding the best value for the products that we really like to buy and also occasionally treating ourselves to things that we really love. It's not just about finding the cheapest food. Your time and convenience for you are also important factors. It's about finding a balance. Even M&S has read the room and is trying to get competitive with its own essentials budget range of produce, and some of it is like really competitive. I'm not saying that you can do your weekly shop at M&S and it's going to come out cheaper than if you've done the same shop at Aldi. However, there are certain things that you can do in any supermarket, certain choices that you can make to bring the cost of your shop down. It doesn't have to mean that you have to go to Aldi if you want to cut your food shop. Always look out for offers. Now, I could rant for a very long time about this new two-tier pricing system that is evolved in supermarkets for like non-members and actual members. I think it's very confusing for the customer, and it's so overused now that the offer prices like have almost become meaningless, and it's very difficult to spot when an offer is actually a really good offer. What I try to do is stay aware of the general price of stuff that I buy regularly, like the orange juice that I buy regularly and the laundry detergent that I buy regularly, so that when I see it on offer, I know it's a real offer and I bulk buy it in that moment, ensuring that I have a plan for using it or freezing it so that it's not going to go to waste. Always keep track of the special individual offers that might be available to you. So for example, with Sainsbury's Nectar, they do tailored Nectar prices to you every week, and you can check what they are in your app when you're doing your meal plan. So if there's a really good deal in there, you can think, right, okay, I've got a deal here on cherry tomatoes. I can make a plan for how to use a pack of cherry tomatoes in my meal plan this week. Find a balance. Frugal living is not about foregoing all treats. And actually, I think that if you approach it in that way, it's going to be really hard to stick to the principles of frugal living, because you've kind of sucked all of the fun out of everything. And if you associate frugality with no fun, why would you want to do it? Frugality is really all about finding the right balance so that you can live a life that you love without overspending and ending up in debt. When it comes to your food budget, find areas where you will save and areas where you will allow yourself to splurge from time to time, and factor all of that into a budget that means that you will spend below your means. This means that we will treat ourselves to a takeaway once a month, completely guilt-free. Thank you so much for watching. I am so glad that you stopped by to check out my food tips. If you have any tips of your own, how you keep your own family's food budget low, please leave them in the comments below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe for lots more money-saving videos from me.